Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And honestly, it's been a very long time since I've talked about Algorand, aka Algo. But I think right now is probably the best time to be looking into this one, as it does slowly but surely creep its way under $1 billion in market cap. And one of the biggest questions I've been getting is, Nick, is this thing dead? Like, what's going on with Algorand? And to answer that question, simply, no, it's not dead. At least in my opinion, it's not, because what we've been seeing is a ton of growth from the team, and even within the network itself and the actual project, which we will dive into here in a second. But first and foremost, I want to address price action. So as we really kind of look at this thing has been hammered. I mean, listen, there's a lot of altcoins that get completely destroyed, but this thing went down about 97 almost percent. On the recent dip in June, it was down 97%. And this downtrend that we're in will soon break. Very similar to every other major token out there, we usually have these, downtrends that seem like they're never ending. And honestly, like, this one has been going on for a while. I mean, it seems like it's all right. Like, let's, have a little bit of a bounce, and then boom, down again. And then we had it again in February, and then boom. And this downtrend, it seems like it's never ending, right? But what will happen is it will test, and then finally get the break. We've been testing this level for a while. In fact, it's been attempting to break out. Here you guys have one attempt. Even recently, like, we've been going under some EMAs. The 10 3-day EMA, for example, this yellow line here, we've been trailing against it for a little bit of time. I do believe on this next impulsive wave up on Bitcoin, we will ultimately get a nice little breakout, and we'll start to kind of form, a big move to the upside. As we really kind of look at Algorand, I think that this thing is severely oversold. My target on Algorand is $4.50. We were almost there. We were almost at $3, I should say, in 2021. So ultimately speaking, like, listen, we're talking about a gain from the all-time high of about roughly 58%. That is nothing that's too crazy. In terms of the market cap for this thing, even if we went total supply, let's go total supply, right? Or max supply, sorry. You're looking at a $4.50 Algorand, a market cap of 45 billion. That's not too crazy in my opinion. This is an upside of 39x off of the lows. As we really kind of look at Algorand, like I said, I don't think that this thing is dead. And honestly speaking, if I'm being 100% with you guys, this range that we're in down here seems like a perfect level of accumulation, because we are already back to the March of 2020 lows. I mean, off of the March of 2020 lows, this thing ran up, 27x. If we're talking about, again, off of these lows, or even at today's prices, we're talking about like a 40x to my target. And yeah, I do believe that that is a target that's conservative. I think that's a level that can most likely, happen. First and foremost, we need to break a few levels. The initial target that we're actually kind of looking at is about $1.83 or so, almost like $1.84. And then from there, we kind of target the all-time high, and then we target that higher level. But ultimately speaking, let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about why Algorand is not dead. So first off, Algorand boosts performance in a latest protocol upgrade, incorporates key new features for streamlining app development. And yeah, I think that this is great, especially for welcoming in more developers, having more use cases go live on the network that are extremely user friendly. And we also do see some of the enhancements. Simulate, which allows for developers to test a little bit more in depth, identify and rectify any issues. New developer capabilities, which include group resource sharing for application calls, dev mode timestamp control for testing, dApps, and new Algo endpoints for transaction group state updates. And then, of course, Conduit, a new tool for flexible and lightweight data access, which again just allows developers to run their own data solutions, accessing their specific data needs in a simple, flexible, and affordable manner. And then also down here, all of this is focused on Algorand providing the best tech for developers to engage with and also end users to experience. Through these new capabilities, builders can get higher quality dApps to market faster through customized datasets and faster and more efficient testing, which is always, again, great to see. And remember, all of this is to welcome in the future developers that are building out Web3 applications so that we can have mass adoption of Web3. And remember, Algorand is kind of right on par with Hedera, at least with the 10,000 TPS. I do know that Hedera does have sharding capabilities, meaning that it does have unlimited TPS possibilities. But hey, when we still look at Algorand, they are more so future-proof as well. And also going all the way back to 2022. Listen, even this year, they appointed a new CFO. But going back to 2022, they did add some crucial players, including a CMO. And then also, shout out to Alex J Woke Up. He posted this just recently, but he's going all the way back to July of 2022, which is this announcement with Alberto Cribior, who joins Algorand board of directors. The significance of this individual is that he is from Citi. We do see thrilled to welcome him of Citi to Algorand's board of directors. We do see Algorand Inc. posted this July 12th, 2022. I'm curious to see a list of the Algorand Inc. board of directors with, of course, the Algorand Foundation board is shown publicly on the website. With Algorand Inc. being a private company, they're not required by law to share. However, with their current model of transparency, I would hope they would stay consistent with vision. And yeah, I wonder how many major players from the traditional world are assigned to a board of directors spot, like for example, Alberto from Citi. And then also, I do want to dive into the developer side of things and really kind of look at the network. So in terms of the network, we have about roughly 1,300 plus nodes, about 31.5 million total addresses, and we are doing about roughly 5 million plus transactions in the last 7 days. Now, all of this can be looked upon and more in depth within the developer portal. I do have everything over here in terms of opening the protocol. So within the protocol itself, we can see that the average transaction per second is about roughly 8.9. I know that that's not crazy for some networks like Hedera, for example, but we did see the peak transaction per second in the last 60 days being about 6,192. So there seems to be some testing happening within the network, which is pretty interesting. We actually can see the transactions and then also the average transaction fee here. The fees are actually dropping quite a bit, as you guys do see. It's kind of still stable, if you will, but it's still very exciting to see, especially from an overall network perspective for adoption. But then also down here, you can see the blocks. You can also see the addresses. Now, this is one thing that I've been looking at in terms of the addresses. Check this out. So if we go all the way back to 1 year, this thing was sitting at about 26 million back in last July. Today, we know that they've added roughly about 5.5 million new addresses to the network, which is very exciting. And in the last just 90 days, you could see that this thing has been skyrocketing in new addresses. Are people accumulating? Most likely. Who knows? But to me personally, right now would most likely be the best time to be accumulating this thing. And in terms of on-chain value, so we do see the total asset value, 1.92 billion, roughly about 17 billion Algo. This is the total asset value combined. And then also Algorand market cap, 881 million. Algorand 24-hour volume, roughly about 7.8 million. 38%. By the way, I'm recording this a little bit ahead of time, so the price of Algorand is most likely going to change a little bit. But nonetheless, this is the total asset value on the network. This does include Algorand and a few other tokens as well, not just Algorand. In terms of NFT sales, so NFTs have been pretty much dead for a little bit of time. I do suspect that these will be bouncing back eventually here soon once the retail sector comes back into the space. But as we do see, Algorand sales are still looking pretty good, almost about $170,000 within the last 30 days, which is not too bad. And then also total value locked. This is the big one that I always kind of look at. So total value locked right now, sitting at about roughly 122 million. Total committed algos sitting at about roughly 2.5 billion Algorand locked up, which is very exciting to see. And you could see this in the last year. Been kind of, I would say, stable for the most part. If you wanted to, you could look through this and look at specific assets in terms of Algo liquid governance. or even other ones on the network. But for the most part, I think that this is a great statistic to look at, especially in terms of like seeing how much is locked away on the network. I think that this is great to see. And also, as we look at the developers, so here is all repositories. You can see the contributors sitting at about roughly 5,386. See the forkers. You could also see the stargazers here. This has been, for the most part, pretty stable. I mean, we haven't really seen massive growth in the last couple months, but hey, we still are seeing some growth. From April 3rd, for an example, we were sitting at about roughly 4,483 contributors. Today, we're sitting at about roughly 5,386. So we're still seeing growth within the developer side of things, which is always great to see. And then also decentralization. We do see over here the nodes. We see the voters. And you can also see the lowest voting stake amount as well. And then last but not least, of course, governance. Here's a pretty simple view of the governance. See the total rewards distributed, which is sitting at about roughly 466 million. You can also see the governors and the committed Algorands, or Algos, if you will, sorry. And then, of course, what kind of video would it be without showing the ecosystem? So the ecosystem has been growing quite a bit, from DeFi to art and music NFTs to gaming, you name it. Algorand has basically everything that you could think of, especially around like the Web3 world. DeFi has been growing quite a bit. We do see supercharged DeFi on Algorand. Within this, you could see a few of the use cases. I think that the major one is Algo Fi and also Folks Finance. I think that that's where a lot of the total value locked on the network come from. And then, of course, decentralized exchanges, quite a bit of them. And then down here, stablecoins as well. Again, we have been seeing a lot of growth within the Algorand ecosystem from DeFi and even gaming and all that. And we could also see the grants funding awarded. In terms of DeFi, roughly about almost 14 million. Art and music NFTs about almost 8 million. Gaming sitting at about roughly 8.5 million. And then oracles and bridges sitting at about roughly 3.2 million. And then last but not least, the infrastructure sitting at about roughly 7 million. So listen, as we really kind of look at Algorand today, like I said, the ecosystem is growing. The team has been growing, and everything around Algorand, like we're even seeing the network still being worked upon. They're still building. They're still, upgrading it. I love to see this, right? At least the team is extremely active. They've been doing a lot of events as well. Like for an example, if you go over to the Algorand Twitter account, so let me just go over here real quick to their Twitter account. If you go to their Twitter account, you can see how active they are. They're doing a lot of events, which is always very exciting to see because this allows for the overall community to grow a lot more rapidly, if you will. And it also puts a lot more eyes on the project. But like I said, this project, or I shouldn't even say project, more so the team behind this project, has been extremely active. They have not slowed down at all. Even if you go to the main Twitter account as well, you could see that they've been extremely active even during July, June, you name it. So as we do look at today's price, I think that this thing is extremely undervalued. One, I think that, I've been accumulating here. It just makes sense in my opinion. I think that it's a low risk accumulation zone. And maybe I'm wrong, right? Like, again, I could always be wrong. I'm just looking at this thing and I'm just like, okay, well, main target, like right off the bat, like main target, if I'm looking at this thing, is probably like 28 cents. Once we flip that area, then we can target much higher prices. But even just at 28 cents from our level today, that's a gain of roughly about 150%. Short-term trade setup. But if we're looking long-term, like this thing has a ton of growth. I mean, I look at some of these assets like Algorand, for an example. I think that these are long-term holds. The market has been decimated in terms of a lot of altcoins, but Algorand, in my opinion, has gotten the worst of it all. And it's been rough. It really has been rough, especially if you are, an Algorand holder. Full transparency, I've been out of Algorand since going all the way back to 2021, and I sold way too early. I sold about roughly around like $1 to $1.20. But today, hey, I get a second chance to accumulate this range. I've been accumulating this one for a little bit of time now. I've actually started accumulating at around like 15 cents, just because, when I looked back at the chart, it was like right around this level here. And I was like, well, hey, it doesn't hurt to, start taking a stab at it. But now we've been in this green zone for about roughly 45 days. I don't think that we're going to be here forever. I think that this thing, let it be known that like Algorand has been a very strong project within the space for a while. And even during 2021, if you were here during 2021, Algorand was a major mover. And I think that today, more than ever before, Algorand is still a very strong project with a very strong team behind it. And the ecosystem continues to expand. So if I were to answer the question if Algorand is dead, I would say no, and I do think that we have an incredible opportunity here to accumulate a very undervalued utility token that, in my opinion, could very well net us incredible gains to roughly about $4.50. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As is up to you all, have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.